Hi guys, welcome to another edition of Goal Bazan. This is Pasha Hajian speaking. If you guys have been following us on our Facebook, on our Twitter, you guys have been realizing that right now I'm currently in Lisbon, Portugal. Had the pleasure of visiting the Portuguese National Team Federation. Fantastic facilities. We had a little short interview with Manuel Fernandes. You could check that out on our Twitter. A few videos of the players training and whatnot. And today we checked out Benfica's facility. Did an interview with three top managers on the youth level. As you guys could know, they're known to be pretty much the production line of European football. A lot of some top talents across the world have came through this academy, and it was just mesmerizing to see their philosophy and whatnot. So check out the pictures there. You could even check out on my own Instagram at Pasha Hajian. Today, or a couple days ago actually, Babak Gori, Sinai Saimian, Pejman Pars, and Arya Alaverdi, they did this podcast on few issues surrounding the Iranian national team, especially with exclusion and whatnot. They discuss about the Uzbekistan match and much more that I'll just leave it to them to discuss about it. As always, we appreciate the support. Please follow us on Twitter at Goldbazan and our Facebook at Goldbazan. We're gonna have many more contents leading up to the World Cup, and during the World Cup, we're gonna do live phone call-ins. So if anybody's interested to give their opinion and whatnot, I will be more than happy to receive your call. As always, I appreciate the support and hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of Gold Bazan.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Golbazan Podcast. I'm your host for today, Sinan Saimian, and I'm delighted to be joined by Babak Golriz, Pejman Pars, and Arya Alaverdi. Guys, it's great to speak to you and great to have you on.
Hi guys, World Cup is coming, and I think we're all excited
Good,
and ready to get on.
good to be here as always.
Yeah, very excited to be here. Hopefully, we discuss some topics that are needed to be discussed before the World Cup.
Yeah, definitely. So let's just jump right into it. And the main point of talking this week has been the squad selection and the announcement by Carlos Queiroz of the 24 men that he has invited to the national team. It's raised a lot of eyebrows and posed some massive questions. And the big one, the biggest name that was left out, which I think is fair to say no one saw coming, was, say, Jalal Hosseini, one of Iran's greatest ever defenders, in my opinion. The man who, in the last podcast, I said is almost irreplaceable because of his characteristics as a defender, his leadership. But Queiroz decided to leave him out, which, again, it causes a lot of questions to be asked. Babak, I'm going to start with you. What did you think of that decision, and what do you think has caused Queiroz to make such a huge and risky choice?
Like you said, it was a shocking piece of news and a decision which is brave at the very least. Difficult to try to second guess what Queiroz was thinking when he made this decision, except we've got to take into account his official comments, whereas he said he wants the road to be open for the youngsters to grow, and they will only grow once some of the more experienced players are out of the way. This is their chance to, let's say, develop themselves and go to the next level, let's say. I like the idea, I like the concept, but I just somehow feel that we could have still done that, and let's say if we want to fast track Majid Hosseini into the starting lineup, which I don't know if it's the right time anyway for the World Cup, then we could have still kept Hosseini in the squad. But from what I've read and what I've heard recently, there may be some off-the-field reasonings as well behind dropping him. Maybe some of the younger players in the squad seem to have an issue with some of the more experienced or the old guard, of which I think we are down to Pejman Montazeri maybe right now. I can't think of any from the previous, let's say, generation. So I don't know, really. Our defense hasn't looked solid without Hosseini. Even Pourali Ganji hasn't looked solid when he's played with Khanzadeh, for example, or Ansari or Cheshmi. So I'm trying to look at the positive side, and what I see is that Queiroz made certain decisions, tough decisions last time around 4 years ago, but they turned out to be positive for us. Ali Rezaei thrown into the deep end at the eve of the first game. We didn't see it coming, but he performed well, and we looked better for it. So I'm hopeful and optimistic. Queiroz is not a person, I don't think he's a person with an agenda against anyone, like some of the Esteghlal fans are saying these days, or an ego to try to prove a point to Persepolis or Branko Ivankovic. So I would like to put that conspiracy aside and like to think that there is something maybe deeper behind the decision, but we'll see the full, let's say, picture as we get closer to the World Cup.
Pejman, Bobak makes some great points there, and some points that I completely agree with. I think when you think about the reasons that Queiroz has come out with in terms of blooding in some younger players, it doesn't quite make sense, because a player like Majid Hosseini, and he's been fantastic this season, a very, very talented defender, but he hasn't been that involved in the last squads, but I think within the last year or so. So it's a huge decision, and I don't think that is the reason of Hosseini's omission. Do you agree with Bobak in that sense, or do you think Queiroz, what he said in the last few days is the actual reason for Hosseini's exclusion?
Well, first of all, it was a long time ago we heard Bobak being optimistic about something. He's just like me, so it's interesting. It shows actually how much impact Carlos Queiroz has made on us fans, and of course on the players as well. But I believe if it was any other coach, Iranian coach, doing something like this, the headlines would be much worse, and we would say like, oh no, he don't know what he's doing, what he's up to. This would be a catastrophe. But we're not really talking about that. We were more or less shocked that he's dropping one of his most capped players. But at the same time, we do believe that Queiroz doesn't do this because he's got a personal vendetta against Hosseini or Persepolis fans, just as Bobak said. So yeah, I'm kind of trying to be hopeful or optimistic about this decision. But on the other hand, I do believe that Jalal Hosseini is a captain also outside the field, and he can be useful like a ambassador or inspirational kind of guy, taking care of the younger players outside the field. But if the rumors are true, and let's just say it's just rumors, that the older players such as Hosseini doesn't get along with the younger players, well, then he's not needed, because if he's not playing and he's not being a good role model for the younger players, then it's time for him to step down, and maybe that's what Carlos needed to do before the World Cup. So I don't know if my answer is what you're looking for, or answered your question, but that's more my thoughts and ideas about this sudden decision or sudden drop, to be said.
Audio, when Queiroz was asked about his decision, he started talking about a few things, and one of the things he said was, "I fell in love with Iranian football and Iranian players because of people like Jalal Hosseini," and he talked great things about Hosseini, and he tried to justify his decision to leave him out. But okay, when you look past the shock and how sudden that decision was, and building on what Pejman and Bobak said, where do you think Iran will go from here, and what do you think the options are in the World Cup, and how can we replace him, not just as a defender, but his presence in the team and that leadership that we all agree he had on and off the pitch?
First of all, you have to understand Hosseini 116 caps for the national team. You know, it's a big achievement. You know, he's been there for a long time, and it's difficult to replace that. You know, I think Queiroz, he's obviously trying to tell us that obviously he's one of our most experienced players by saying that he fell in love with our players because of him. It shows how much of an influence he is on the team as a whole. But you have to also understand that he is 36 years old, and in the day, it's a sport. You know, we're not playing chess, we're not playing backgammon. You know, we're playing football. We're running, and you can't expect a 36-year-old to run 270 minutes and then play Portugal, play Spain, play Morocco, a tough team. You can't expect that from a 36-year-old. I mean, as much as he's a great player, as much as he's really experienced off the pitch, he might be really good for young players. End of the day, you have to say if he gets tired in a game, and he can't carry on, he won't show that. He will try and hide it for the young players not to see it. You know, he doesn't want to be a bad example on them. So you have to say that's not a good thing. You want a captain who's going to be able to fight 90 minutes without getting tired. And I'm not saying he's not a fit player, but you can't expect a 36-year-old to run for 270 minutes against that level of opposition. So that's why Queiroz has brought in younger players. He's brought in Majid Hosseini, he's 21 years old. He's brought in Khanzadeh, who, I've said it before, he's not a likeable guy for some of the fans, but he's, you know, when he was younger, he wasn't a bad right back. He played at right back for a little while. He scored 4 goals this season from right back. You know, he didn't have a bad season for Paddy Day. He did all right. He finished 10th or 11th, something like that. And then you've also got Cheshmi, who's always been around. He's always done well for his club. Recently did well on Saturday for Iran, playing in defensive midfield. There's always options, young options to replace Hosseini. But like you said, Sina, it's the experience and the leadership skills that aren't going to be easy to replace. And I think we're looking towards Montazeri and even Purali Ganji offering us that, having over 20 caps now, Purali Ganji. He has to still step up into Hosseini's shoes and take that leadership role in the World Cup and show that he's learnt a lot in those 20 caps, and it's not just a case of playing 20 games and that's it. You know, he's actually learnt how to lead the national team from the back. And
but guys, sorry, to interrupt you. But guys, let's say that this is a right decision. Then the next question is, why does he make this decision like at this stage? If he knew all along that he didn't want to have Hosseini in the squad, why didn't he just let him go and let Khanzadeh and whoever he wants to play? I mean, at least 1-2 years ago from now, they have been in the squad from now and then, but you know, why even have him in the squad from the beginning?
It's possible to say that maybe he wanted the players to see him as an experienced player throughout the qualifiers, throughout the friendlies, leading up to the World Cup, and then and then maybe he was like, you know what, now they've seen it, now it's time to go and show it in the World Cup. 2 weeks ago, now going what you've learned from him all the way up to leading up to the World Cup. Now it's your turn to go and show what you've learned from him.
I don't think that it was as much as a shock as the idea of him being dropped from the squad was a shock, but I did not expect Jalal Hosseini to be starting majority of the games of the World Cup. From the end of the qualifiers, if you look forward towards until now, how many games did Jalal Hosseini start? So you can see him slowly being phased out. I remember over the pods in the last few months, I was asking the question, is Hosseini fit? Is there something wrong with his fitness? Why is he no longer starting as much as before? Even though if he was on the bench, or there was a time where he wasn't even used off the bench. So I think that gradually Queiroz has moved towards replacing Hosseini in the starting lineup. He's tried Khanzadeh. I think Cheshmi may have even had a few minutes there. And now Majid Hosseini came on. Ansari's played there. So he has tried multiple partners for Purali Ganji and then Montazeri as well. So I don't think... I see what you're saying, Pejman, but I actually think that Queiroz has been planning towards phasing out Jalal Hosseini at the World Cup. But the idea of him being dropped, is an extreme one, and maybe it's the shock factor for the team. Maybe it's a boost to the morale of some of the players if the rumors are true. Maybe it's just to show them, hey, Majid Hosseini, I believe in you so much that we don't need our most capped player in the squad because I know you can do a job. And imagine if Hosseini has the right temperament and mentality, that's a huge boost for his confidence. So I think we can look at it from both ways, but I disagree that it's a shock that he won't be starting because I didn't expect him to be. I genuinely expected another defender, probably Montazeri, to be starting in the World Cup in more than one of the games. So let's say 2 out of the 3 games.
I agree with the both of you. I think Bobak is right. Maybe this wasn't a shocking decision in terms of Carlos Queiroz just making that sudden decision. But also, Pejman, I think if he was going to leave out Hosseini for a few back-to-back squads, it would have been a bigger controversy and something bigger to deal with because it's one after other and another until the World Cup. Whereas this is like a sudden death, you know. He's left him out. It's done. There's nothing you can do about it. But if he was left out in January, there would have been more pressure on Queiroz to put him in the next squad and so on. And I think this way he's just got it over and done with, and he said to everyone, right, this is what's going on. Deal with it. But I agree with Bobak. I think it's something that he's been planning to do for a while. And also, this is a guy who seems to have a problem with authority in the players in terms of players getting too big for their boots, you know. And he's historically shown that. I think out of all our senior players under him, Nekunam was the only one who reached the end without any problems. You know, he left out Aghili and Rahmati specifically for this reason of having maybe thinking they have too much of an authority within the camp. Of course, Hosseini is a different character, but maybe he's had to deal with similar situations. Of course, at United, when he was Sir Alex Ferguson's assistant, he was against Roy Keane when the issues that was raised in 2004. So this is a guy who believes in having a balanced squad. Who they all respect each other. Of course, there's a captain, but not someone who has that authority over everyone else, if that makes sense. And also, with this decision, a lot of things make sense. It makes sense for me. I mean, the last few years since the retirement of Nekunam, I've always thought, why isn't Hosseini our captain? Because for me, he was always the leader in that team. Why is Masoud Shujai captain? Why is Dejagat captain? But I think with this decision, and if the murmurs and the rumours of discontent within the younger players in the camp over the treatment of their treatment by Hosseini, then that would make a lot of sense. The fact that he's been the 3rd, 4th choice captain. So I think that makes some sense for me as well. But the reactions inside Iran have been a lot worse. I think we've been quite reasonable about it, but in Iran it's been. I think some of the things that I've heard from former players, including someone like Ali Karim, who I have no respect for now, it's been quite shocking.
Welcome to the club.
Exactly. I mean, look, a manager is entitled to choose to decide who he takes to the World Cup or for his own squad, and especially a manager who's proven year after year that his decisions are the right ones. But at the end of the day, look, Hosseini, fantastic player, but for me, and I think because of Queiroz and the way he coaches and the way he sets the team up defensively, I think I'm hoping that we wouldn't miss him as much as they are thinking we would in Iran. But anyway, moving on, there was a few other notable players who left out as well. I think the one that really surprised me the most was Vouria Ghafouri, a player who's been on great form this year for Esteghlal, who's improved massively on the Winfried Schäfer, the German manager of Esteghlal. And I thought he would even be a starter in 1 or 2 of the games in the World Cup. So this was hugely shocking for me. And one that at the beginning it didn't make sense at all. But coming to you, Pejman, what do you think about this? And of course, Khanzadeh has been taken now, which is something else that we could discuss for another hour or two. A player who hasn't been involved in the squad, I think since, was it Asian Cup, 2015 Asian Cup, I think it was. He's been out for a year or two due to some suspensions in Iran. And I think this season was the first season that he played regularly at a club without any problems. Of course, he's a great defender. He's very talented. But, of course, there are question marks over him. But what do you think about Ghafouri's exclusion, and what do you think Queiroz is trying to do there?
Well, to be honest, I'm pleased that Vouria isn't a part of the squad, or at least he's far away from the starting 11. He's way too up and down for me. When he plays good, yeah, he plays good, but then he's only in the league and maybe every now and then with the national team. But when he plays bad, he can be the one single reason that his team lets in a goal. So I don't think Ghafouri is ready to be a right back. But then on the other hand, if we choose between Ghafouri and Rezaei, we talked about this before, and we say that Rezaei is a better guy in the offense than in the defense. But I don't know if that's even the case anymore, because Ramin, having now spent a season in Belgium, I do believe that's been good for him in his decision makings and getting more discipline. At least that's what I hope that would come out of him. But Ghafouri not making the squad isn't something that makes me sad. Although I do believe that he could be maybe one of the 23, thinking that if Rezaei won't make it, or we need somebody else, who would you take in? Would be like 2014, all of a sudden taking Pedro Montazeri, or would we do like against Uzbekistan, where Olizadeh was like all over the right place, right side, and he did it good, but is he ready to be a defender in that position? Really, it's hard to say. And with Beit Ashur getting invited and getting cut from the list like 2 seconds after, it shows that maybe Queiroz have found a solution, because that was the reason I thought that he brought in Beit Ashur for giving Ghafouri and Rezaei a hard time. But now I don't see that happening. So I think Queiroz have an idea who will fight against Ramin for that right defender place.
Arya, when Queiroz again was asked about Vouria Ghafouri, he said one of the reasons that I left him out was because at his club, Esteghlal, this season has been some games he's been playing at right wing, and I told him that he needs to be playing fullback regularly, which for me it doesn't make perfect sense, because we have a lot of players in the national team who play out of position. Of course, Mehdi Taremi being the obvious one, and there are other players as well who play different positions for their clubs, but they come to the national team and they play somewhere that's completely different. So what do you think about Queiroz's reasoning there on Ghafouri's omission?
I think defence is different. I think right back is a really sort of important role, because a lot of the left wingers now in like Spain and Portugal are quite strong, and to play up against them, having a player who's not playing in the defence in his club to come and play for the national team in the World Cup and then play right back, and he's not maybe had that let's say defensive lining with the centre backs regularly for a season, it could be a bit disjointed for him. So I think maybe that's the reason why, because he's not playing defence as much. He's playing in the attacking line more. It could be one of the reasons. Obviously, but saying that, he played Olizadeh at left back, and he's a right winger. So yeah, your point's right. Your point is right to say. I think maybe he thinks he needs to have an attacking option, Ramin Rezaei, to be that, and then a really defensive option like he had Montazeri in 2014 World Cup, and I think he's brought in Khanzada this time to be a defensive option in the 2018 World Cup. So I think he wants to have a balance of a attacking and a defensive-minded option for fullback, and on the other side, Mirad Mohammadi and Olizadeh probably being the attacking option. So yeah, I think he wants to kind of balance out the fullbacks. But for me, I think Ramin Rezaei is a good right back. He's not been bad defensively, but Ghafouri is good as well. I think it's just a case of he's wanted to go balanced with that role.
Bobak, what do you think about this? And of course, the points that Arya and Pejman made.
I like what Arya said at the end. I think it's a question of Ghafouri and Rezaei, probably a little too similar for Carlos's liking. Going into the World Cup against Spain, definitely I don't expect to see Rezaei starting. I personally think he's going to go for a centre back or a solid right back over there. With Khanzadeh tried out in the second half in that position against Uzbekistan, I think it was clear. I felt that yes, Khanzadeh is probably going to be involved at the World Cup squad. I wasn't so surprised when he was included. I think he's going to start against Spain. Rezaei might start against Morocco. And then the third game, depending on what we need to get out of it, he'll make his decision. So Ghafouri, I was surprised, but now when I think back, I say logical. He wants to have a balance on the right side in terms of options. Going into thinking back towards the Asian Cup in 2015, there were 3 or 4 players who had good tournaments or made an impact who I felt would not be figuring at the World Cup. Vahid Amiri was one. I felt he broke through a little bit too old, so I think he's 31 by the time of the World Cup. I'm surprised or disappointed that he's in the squad. Then you have Ashkan, who is now, we can see he's well past his best and he's barely able to stay fit. But he will probably be in the squad if he's fit because of the fact that we need 1 or 2 experienced heads like him and Masoud. Gucci is another one who just about made the squad because Rezaei had a strong first half of the season and a more quiet second half. So if the halves of the seasons were reversed for Kaveh, I am pretty confident that he may have just about pipped Gucci Nejad to the squad. And then Ghafouri, who had a great Asian Cup, I felt. But again, he was 27 or so at the time. So now he's in his 30s, early 30s. And he's not looked good so good for Iran in recent times until maybe the last game or so, last 1 or 2 games. So I'm not surprised. I think Khanzadeh will figure a lot in the World Cup. So I think he's going to have a big, let's say, expectations in terms of performance against the wingers. Definitely when it comes to Spain and maybe even Portugal. And Golizadeh, yes, surprising. But I think he looked very good attacking-wise. I don't think he's going to be so solid defensively. I'm not... Going back to the point about Carlos Queiroz's reasoning, I don't think the idea that after we played a few games on the right wing is a acceptable reason. I think it's more like he could have been clear. I wanted a little bit more balance on the right side. I want to have a centre back, but I don't think he wanted to give away his tactics or strategy. So overall, I don't think we can be so disappointed about this decision.
There's a few other talking points as well in this squad, such as Amir Abedzadeh's inclusion ahead of Hosseini as a goalkeeper. Or for me, one of the odd ones was Ali Karimi, of course, was ruled out of the World Cup due to injury. So I thought Queiroz should probably invite Ahmad Abdullahzadeh instead, and he didn't. So he's chosen to only go with Omid Ebrahimi and Saeed Zatullahi as the natural defensive midfielders, as well as Ehsan Haj Safi, of course, and Kaveh Rezai's omission behind Uchan Nejad. But what was the most surprising, apart from the ones that we've already discussed, coming to you, Arya?
From the ones that we discussed, I think, I think Hosseini was probably what I would say was the most surprising, just because of the experience factor. Other than that,
I meant apart from.
Sorry.
Yeah, apart from Hosseini and Ghafouri.
Yeah, I don't think there's much of a surprise. I think the squad's pretty much what it is. I think he's hit the nail on the head with the squad. I think if you look at it objectively, I don't think it's that bad a squad. I like the squad. I think it's good. I don't have much against it. And I think he's pretty much going for a young squad that's going to run for the team, that's going to battle hard and try and get the results that he can in the World Cup. And at the end of the day, he has to pick a squad, and he's done it. And I don't think it's much of an issue.
Pejman, this is a 24-man squad, and of course, one of the players will have to get cut. Who's your choice? Who do you think will be the victim, if you like? Who do you think will miss the World Cup?
Who I think or who I want?
Tell me both.
Well, I have several that I want to be replaced, and I will probably say Amiri, Vahid Amiri on the left side. I do believe that we have strong enough players on that side. Why not Karim Ansarfad or Salman Qudus? I think they can both be better than Amiri on the left side. But or maybe Ashkan actually, because it's hard to say if he's fit or not. Because listen, there's 3 games left now, and out of those 3 games, the one against Turkey and the ones against Greece. After those 2 games, we will see who's ready or not to be in the squad or in the starting 11. And if he's not playing then, Ashkan, then it's a way too big risk to let a guy that's been injured like a couple of years now, playing 15-20 minutes in Nottingham. That's the only playing he's had the entire season, to start in a World Cup game. Then he needs to go, no matter how good of a guy he is or motivational or he makes the other players better. He's not on the pitch. So Amiri and Ashkan would probably be my choices. And I will also, while I'm at it, I would love to have Kaveh, Rezaei somewhere in the squad, but that's another question. But Ashkan or Amiri, for me, they're not World Cup material.
See, I know Vahid Amiri doesn't have a lot of fans, but I'm going to fight his corner in this one. I think he's the only natural left-footed left winger that we have in the squad, and he's been involved in this in the national team setup regularly for the past.
Golizade is left-footed, if I'm not mistaken, right?
He plays on the right.
But he's left-footed. So technically, he played left back, and then he could technically at a push play at further upfield, because he looked very dangerous off the crosses off his left foot as well. So I would say the options are there, but is he the kind? If we have 3 subs a game, is Vahid Amiri one of those 3 that you want to throw on?
Well, I think I was going to say, for the same reason that you think Khanzadeh would play against Spain or Portugal, I think Amiri is going to start against Spain or Portugal, specifically because he's willing to sacrifice the attacking side of his game to help out tactically. And I think it's because of this reason that
I think his attacking side of his game is limited. It's not like he's sacrificing it. I think he's become a very limited player since the Asian Cup. He's looked out of form, out of sorts. I haven't seen him make any positive contribution on the pitch playing for Iran. It's more a case of, yes, he's a player that Carlos trusts. He does a job for him.
I want to just bring out some stats.
But I think that applies to a lot. But I think that applies to a lot of the players. I think, for example, Alireza Jahanbakhsh, as amazing as he has been, he hasn't been performing for Iran. Or even a player like Omid Ebrahimi, or even Saeed Izzatullahi. There are players who individually are limited because of the way Queiroz wants the team to play. Look, Amiri is not the most talented player. He's not going to contribute even if he was, let's say, allowed to. But I think he is given certain jobs to do this. He seems to be doing well. Otherwise, I don't think he would have been able to get to this level, get to this squad, and especially because when you think about when you discuss Dejaga or players like him, these are players who have been based in Europe, who've played in Europe, so it kind of makes sense for them to be involved. But Vahid Amiri has been in Iran all his career, so there's a lot of reasons to drop.
But it's not a sympathy position in the squad just because he's played in Iran, or we should look at him and judge him in a different way because he's been in Iran. I think Mehdi Torabi, for example, could do a job over there. He's played there as well before, if I'm not mistaken, at the early stage of the qualifiers. He started, I think, in the first round of the qualifiers, he played there as well. I mean, I look at that squad. I agree with what Pejman said earlier. I think if I was to remove a player right now, it would be between Ashkan and Amiri. But at a push, if Ashkan is somehow fit for a 10-15 minute cameo, I would rather have Ashkan Dejaga come off the bench than Vahid Amiri. But I see your point as well, where you say you think he can. Carlos sees him as someone who can do a job for him, as a solid outlet on the left side. Maybe he wants to have a little bit more conservative approach. But I just scratch my head and say why. I honestly wouldn't want to throw him on the pitch. And I look at the rest of the squad. I think if we take Amiri out, I don't think that we are missing so much.
But for me, he is the 2018 version of Khosrow Hilali. You know, we asked this very same questions in 2014 about why is he coming off the bench? Why is he even starting? Because he's not contributing to anything.
I think one of the things that you have to think about is back to Hosseini getting dropped. Could it be that he's also getting dropped because he's just too old? Like he's played 34 caps and 1 goal, and then Torabi made 15 caps and scored 4 goals. Royzad has made 2 caps, scored 2 goals. But I mean, obviously his goals aren't what he's gonna give to the team. That's okay.
But just because they're playing the same position, it doesn't mean they have the same role.
No, I know, and you don't have to score goals, but you have to get it. Like end of the day, we are trying to go forward. You're not trying to stagnate the team, and you have to understand if the coach keeps on playing a player who's just to play, just to make the numbers up, just to give a bit of energy, I think that's stagnating the team. That's holding back the young players. I think the same with Hosseini. Why would you want to play a 36-year-old? You're holding back Majid Hosseini's talent. Same with that. If you're going to play Amiri, you're holding back Bolizadeh and Tourabi, I think.
I agree with you, but looking at that, then I go back to Ashkan Dejaga. Don't tell me Ashkan is fit after almost 2 years of barely playing any football. Right now, he's probably there, and he might get crossed off if he doesn't show his fitness, but I feel he's there now because we lack that experience. He's definitely crucial in the morale of the side. I know Sina said we shouldn't keep a player in I think it was Pejman who said we shouldn't keep a player in just because he's good for the spirit. But the fact that Hosseini's out, I think Masoud and Ashkan are the 2 key pillars of this squad in terms of respect and the respect of the younger players. Both of them have made it in Europe for long stretches of time. So I think the young players cannot question their abilities or their track record. So I think Ashkan will probably be there at the end, just about, but I just don't believe that he's fit in any way. I mean, even when he was playing for us, he's too slow. He's lost that pace, that half a yard of pace, which even at his best he didn't have. But now he's a slouch when he's moving. So the only position I would consider playing him is on the central number 10, maybe right behind the striker. Otherwise, if you play him on either wing, I think you've wasted a spot because there's no way he's getting past his man or contributing anything to the final third. So I think there are cases for a couple of players where you could say that they could justify getting dropped. I wouldn't touch anyone in defense though, because I feel we're already too thin over there. And I think looking at the defense, we only have six specialist defenders. Majid Hosseini, Milad Mohammadi, Khanzadeh, Purali Ganji, Montazeri, and Rezaei. Cheshmi I consider as a defensive midfielder, and Golizadeh, even if he's a backup for Mohammadi, I don't think he's a left back, other than the Uzbekistan game. So I wouldn't take off anyone from defense, and then the choices come down to someone like Ashkan or maybe Masoud if he doesn't recover from his injury. So there's not too many options there to cross off.
For me, I think I hate it. I hate it to be between these two, but I think it's got to be between Mehdi Torabi and Golizadeh. Because when I look at Amiri, and I agree with everything that you guys are saying, he's not talented, he doesn't do this. I see it myself, I know. But the fact that he's made it this far gives me an indication that he's going to go. Because if he was going to get left out, he would have been left out before this.
So Torabi is a good shout as well. Torabi is a good shout, especially if Ashkan is fit.
The fact that you have also Masoud Shojai, and also if Golizadeh is going to go, and is there any point of Torabi going? Is he going to play? Same thing with Golizadeh. If Mehdi Torabi is going to go, is Golizadeh going to get time to play? Probably not. And you also have Karima Ansari Fard who can play on both wings. Then you don't want to play. You don't want to take too many players you can play on the wing.
Yeah, but Golizadeh, it looks like he's going to be an alternative for Milad Mohammadi, the way it's coming down.
Yeah,
or like a half, or between Golizadeh and Haj Safi, you have one backup for Milad. I mean, at a push, if things get bad, I don't think Golizadeh would be thrown in against Spain or Portugal from the start. So Ehsan would probably move to left back, and then we'd have another catastrophe in central midfield. So, but I don't think, looking at the makeup of the squad, Golizadeh is in danger of getting dropped personally.
I agree with that. I don't think Golizadeh is going to get dropped. I think he showed enough in the Uzbekistan game that he can play on both sides of the pitch. He's all right defensively. He tried his best. I think Torabi also played well against Uzbekistan. He did well getting forward in the second half. He did quite well. I think as you guys have just said, it probably will come down to the three winners, Amiri, Kholizadeh, and Torabi. But we'll see, because there's also the other shout of Omid Ibrahimi and Cheshmi playing in that position for defensive midfield. Whether if Cheshmi comes in as a defensive midfielder, then does he have to choose between Ibrahimi and Cheshmi to get that last spot? That's also one more shout. Whether he drops Brahimi, for example, and brings in Cheshmi, and then he has Khanzadeh, Montazeri,
I don't think he's going to risk. I don't think he's going to risk dropping one of them. I mean, we're already thin in central midfield, and if somehow Mohammadi gets injured and Ehsan has to move away, you don't want to have just Saeed and Cheshmi or Ibrahimi. I think he's got to have both of them. It's difficult to see one of them getting dropped.
Bobak, I know you think Cheshmi is going to start, and I know you're dreading it, but I don't think.
I think first game.
Again, going
I
back
think
to
Uzbek is starting the first game instead of Saeed. That's my personal opinion. I mean, you already have, potentially you will have, maybe if Masoud is fit with Cheshmi, and then you have Karim and Saifat together making a three, or you could have Ibrahimi, Cheshmi, and Masoud together maybe, and Karim together. So I'm almost certain Cheshmi will start the first game.
I hope not. But anyway, guys, moving on. Of course, Iran played a friendly game against Uzbekistan just before the 24 men were announced. It was a 1-0 win, a header from the man in question, of course, Ruzbeh Cheshmi from a Ehsan Harsafi corner. What did you guys think about the game? Pejman, starting with you. Did anything stand out? Did you think, of course, apart from Kholizadeh starting at left back, did you think Queiroz tried anything to give him an idea of how he's going to perform, how he's going to line up the team in the World Cup? And keep situation as well, because I know Abedzadeh started in goal in the first half. What did you think about his performance?
Abedzadeh, well, he did good. I mean, nothing to really add. He didn't do anything bad, or he got saved once, a great header by Kholizadeh from the line. I don't think, if it would have been goal, I wouldn't blame Abedzadeh for the goal. But I mean, the lineup was a real shocker for many of us, as always, even if it's a friendly. So it's really hard to say what Carlos thinks. When we look at the starting 11, and even players got subbed in, and one of them was actually Jalal Hosseini, and we know that he probably wants to be in the squad. So I won't take that much from the game, but what I do want to say is that we don't have that good enough players on the bench to feel safe that they can do a good job if somebody else gets injured. Even if you know that they know the tactics really well and everything, they maybe aren't simply good enough players. And that's why we need like Milad Mohammadi on the left side. I mean, I think he's getting more and more important for every game that I see Iran, that we really need him. And that's why we need a really sharp striker like Sardar Azmoun, because Rezaei, he didn't perform well against Uzbekistan. And one last thing I want to say about the game is that I was really impressed with the Uzbeks. Actually, they had like their under 21 team that won the Asian under 21s some 1-2 years ago. So they missed like Serdar Jeparov in Esteghlal, their most capped player. And they played fearless. They looked like they had fun. They could find each other, and they had some good passing, and they didn't respect Iran. And for me, I think I would love to see more of this Uzbek team doing great, because Uzbekistan they always slipped, at the last minute. But if they continue like this, for me, I'm sure that we can. They will be challenging the top 5 in Asia for the 2019 Asian Cup, or at least, or if not that, then for sure for the next World Cup, because the Uzbeks, they are coming.
Bobak, one of the players that received a lot of criticism after that game was Rezaei, who, for me, it was no doubt that he's going to be in the World Cup and ahead of Kaveh Rezaei. What do you think about his performance, and what do you think his role is going to be in the World Cup? Do you think he's just going to be a super sub, or there's any chance of him starting? And what did you think, on building on what Pejman said, what did you think about the performance as a whole?
I thought he was abysmal, almost non-existent. Yes, he was feeding off scraps, but I don't think he's the type of player that'll create something out of nothing for himself like Sardar could, for example. So based on that performance, I was leaning towards the idea that if it's going to be a choice between Kaveh and him, he may get crossed off the list. But I think what went on his side, or what worked for him, was the fact that he's been an ever-present for Carlos Queiroz from the beginning. He's probably a link between some of the older players and younger players as well, playing in Europe. He's happy enough with his role as a substitute. I don't think he expects or pushes for a starting lineup place. He's a good player to have off the bench for the last 15, 20 minutes because we know Sardar's not going to finish 90 minutes in any of the 3 games. So you're going to bring on someone off the bench with a proven track record in feeding off some scraps late in the game, off corners, etc. Then I would probably put my faith in Gucci. He's proven himself in that sort of role. So you have to consider the role and why he's there as opposed to why Kaveh Rezaei is not there. Kaveh Rezaei has had a great season. Maybe his form just about tethered off a little bit towards the second half of the season, but again, towards the last few games, he started to pick it up again. But how would he react in an environment like that? Is he the kind of player that you're going to bring on if you need a goal with 10, 15 minutes to go? I'm not so sure. I don't think Carlos could probably answer that either, and that's why Gucci is in the squad. So I'm not so surprised. I'm disappointed for Kaveh Rezaei because he went to Europe. In his first season, he made an impact. He settled in a foreign country, started to learn the language. So he did everything. He ticked all the right boxes, but he misses out on the World Cup. I'm sure he'll be around for the Asian Cup, though. Going back to the performance overall, I think we've come to a stage where, at least on the Asian level, we're experienced enough and solid enough that by not playing so well, we are able to scrap the wins. And that's a sign of a good, experienced, established side. Something that the likes of maybe Japan and Korea could do back in the day, a few years ago in Asia, and we were only in envy of. So I think we didn't play anything near our best. Of course, we had a lot of changes, etc., but we looked comfortable at all stages of the game. We didn't look like, even if the Uzbeks were on the front foot, we didn't look uncomfortable. And that's been the case a lot during a lot of the friendlies and quite a few of the qualifiers. So that bodes well for the overall mentality of this side. I think only Golizadeh was one of the few players that shone in that game, and I felt that it would be difficult to drop him or not include him in the squad with the sort of performance he had. So overall, I think not much in terms of performance to go by, but good to see that we are on the right track when it comes to the mentality side.
Arya, what were your thoughts about the game? And also, one of the things that Pejman mentioned was how great Uzbekistan were. So, building on that, how do you think they cause us problems? Which areas do you think they cause Iran problems? And how do you think Queiroz can deal with that leading to the World Cup?
Is that for me?
Yes, it was, yes.
Sorry, you cut off there. I didn't even hear you. Sorry, say that again.
So I was just asking what were your thoughts about the game against Uzbekistan, and whether you think Uzbekistan caused us problems in that game.
I think the issues were mainly just a case of we looked a bit slow. I think sometimes in the midfield we looked a bit slow to get the ball out to the strikers. Like Babak said, Gucci was basically feeding off scraps. He didn't. I mean, that's what you expect. He's not going to do much more than that. He's going to be a poacher and try and get tap-ins. I think defensively, I've got to be honest, I was really, really impressed with Jalal Hosseini. Although they were trying to play high balls and trying to get the ball into the box early, I think Majid Hosseini dealt with the ball. He dealt with the play and the whole of the play very well. He was meeting the ball with his head very, very effectively, and I think that was maybe one of the reasons why he showed the experience that Hosseini shows in a game. Shows sort of leadership from the back. I think I genuinely don't think there was much issue. It was just a really boring game. It was a bit slow. It looked a bit just boring. But we'll see what happens in the next game against Turkey, and hopefully they speed up a little bit and actually do get some goals and create more chances, and use some of the players that will start, like Jalal Bash and Osman, etc.
Of course, we have 3 friendly games left before the start of the World Cup. We are currently in Turkey in a training against the Turkish national team on Monday, the 28th of May, and there's a game against Lithuania in Russia on the 8th of June. But I also think there's a game against Greece. I don't know the exact date. If you guys can help me with that.
2nd of June.
2nd of June. Okay, perfect. So we've got these 3 games going into the World Cup. But for the last question, I'm going to ask each one of you, based on what you've seen so far, how do you think you will line up the lineup? So just give me your first 11, and then after that we'll wrap up the episode. Starting from you, Pejman.
What I think about the friendlies, is that the question?
No, the starting 11. How do you think, based on what you've seen so far, what do you think the starting 11 against Morocco?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Is going to be?
Okay. Well, in goal, I think we'll see Beiran Vand. In the defensive lineup, we will see Mohammadi at the left side, Rezaei on the right side. In the middle, Purali Ganji, probably with Khanzadeh, which I'm not so fan of that idea, but for now, we'll see. And if we play 4-2-3-1, we'll have Ehsan Hajsafi in the defensive midfield, maybe next to Masoud Shujai, probably. Masoud being a little bit more in the offense, and Ehsan more in the defense. And the 4-2-3-1, those 3, we have Jahan Bakhsh on the right side. I'm thinking maybe Salman or Karim Ansari Fard, like a number 10 in the middle. And on the left side, I'm a fan of Taremi still, but I can imagine having Karim there and then letting someone be in the middle. And up top, I can only see Sardar starting. We need him more than ever, I believe.
Arya, what is yours going to be?
I just want to clear up, formation-wise, from what I believe is Queiroz is playing a variation of a 4-5-1, 4-1-4-1, 4-3-3, a flat midfield, not a 4-2-3-1. We haven't played that formation in ages. So I think it would be, I would play Mazaheri in goals. Right back would be Rezaei on. 2 centre-backs, I would go with Majid Hosseini and Purali Ganji, just to see how they get on. Mohammadi at left back. In defensive midfield, I would play Montazeri actually against Morocco, and obviously Izzatullahi in the next 2 games. And then the two midfielders on the right and left side. On the right side, if Dejaga is fit and ready, which I don't think he will be, but if he is, I would start him. If not, then I would probably go with Kudus. On the left side, Haisafi. Let's hope on the left wing. If Dejaga starts, then Kudus, I would play him on the left wing. If not, then Taremi would play the left wing for me. Jalal Bash on right, and then obviously Osman up front. So, yeah.
Bobak?
Okay, we're talking about the Morocco game or what we'd like to see in the Turkey game and the friendlies?
No, about the Morocco game. Just from what you've seen so far, of course, we still have the 3 friendlies to play, so that will give us a better idea. But from what you've seen so far, how do you think the starting 11 is going to be against Morocco?
If I had to guess right now, I would say we're going to play with Beiran Vand, although I would like during the next 2 games to have Beiran Vand play one half, and then in one of each game we could try Abedzadeh and Mazaheri just to see how they cope against better opposition. I really think we should play our strongest team against Turkey. It's enough time to the World Cup for the players to recover and just to see ourselves against a solid team. In defense, I would line up from right to left with Rezaei, Pourali Ganji. I'm impressed and optimistic about Majid Hosseini, but it's difficult to say. If I had to pick the side today, I think Montazeri will start, but this could change when it comes to the World Cup. And then obviously Pourali Ganji and Mohammadi. Midfield, I agree with Arya. It's more of a flattish midfield, 4-3-3, more than 4-2-3-1. I would think that Ehsan will start and probably captain the side, and then you have Cheshmi, I think, who will start in that first game. You have Ehsan, Cheshmi, maybe tough to say. Masoud, maybe, or Karim, depending on Masoud's fitness. And then you move towards the attacking trident, and I think it's going to be Taremi, Sardar, and Alireza Jahanbakhsh. Those three are going to probably start most of the games, I would think. It's difficult to see something switching. So that would probably be the starting lineup against Morocco if I was to make that guess tonight.
Some interesting choices there, interesting lineups.
What would
What's
you
your- what's your
say, Sina? What would you, yeah?
I'm going to tell you, and this is why I'm not a betting man. But I think it's going to be Obedzadeh in goal, Rezaei on the right. I think the centre-back pairing, I feel like he's going to do a Montazeri and Hosseini because they've been playing together for about a year and a half now. So I think without Hosseini, he might just leave Pourali Ganji out as well and leave them to start with Mohammadi.
Maybe even Pourali Ganji in defensive midfield. You never know because he's played it before.
Yeah,
but he hasn't played him there at all. We'll see over the next 3 games.
Possibly.
A lot of things can be clear.
Yeah, exactly. But Mohammadi on the left, I think he's going to be Ehsan, Masoud, and probably I would say Karim, because he has played Karim in midfield.
But that's a very attacking 3-man midfield.
Do you know? I think Shojai playing as that sort of Pirlo deep lying playmaker is interesting because against Morocco we have to attack, we have to try and win the game. I think it's interesting, but
you're leaving. But you're leaving Masoud in a place where he has to make tackles, and you don't want Masoud making tackles. So, but yeah, I think Jahanbakhsh on the right, Taremi, I think he's going to start on the left, and of course Osman.
What makes you think Obedzadeh, at this moment, when he's only had 45 minutes of experience for the national team, what makes you think Obedzadeh is going to start? I'm not dismissing it because I feel it has some legs, and we will see more over the next few games, but what makes you think Obedzadeh is going to start?
It's something that Queiroz would do, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be? Do you think it's something that he would do? Bringing a player out of nowhere.
I agree with Sina. I think
45
I can see that happening.
Hey? Yeah.
Plus, he's playing in Portugal. You never know. Like he's playing in his home country.
My worry is his height. He's not a commanding figure. That's my main.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's say hesitancy. I would like to see him in action against a team like Turkey, which is a physical team, and maybe Greece. That's why I would like Mazohiri and Obedzadeh to get some minutes against established international sides. But my hesitancy right now, the question mark I have is he commanding enough to play against a team like Morocco, for sure, a physical team who's going to use crosses and set plays, very similar to us, and then maybe Portugal as well, quite similar too.
I think I always keep comparing to the last World Cup and the preparation and how we ended up lining up against Nigeria in that first game. There was a lot of difference. So that's why I'm thinking maybe we shouldn't read too much into how we line up the friendlies, because of course he likes to throw off his opponents, and he did that in the last World Cup. I think he only had half a game or a full game in the 4 games, in the 4 friendlies, and Hajsafi didn't. Hajsafi played at left back 2 or 3 friendlies. So I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't read too much into it. But anyway, that's what I think, and we just gotta wait and see. But I think the game against Turkey, as you guys said, will definitely be interesting. But that's all we have for this episode, guys. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I just want to say thanks for having me on again. Hopefully we'll be doing more podcasts close to the World Cup, discussing more of the friendlies coming up soon. Some of the squads, some of the players one of the players has to get obviously cut from the 24-man squad. So more to discuss soon. Hopefully, just keep following us on Instagram, Twitter, etc. And thanks for having me on again.
Great work, guys.
Yeah.
I think we've covered it all, and I'm looking forward to the Turkey game quite avidly.
Right. Cheers, guys. That's perfect. And thank you for listening. We appreciate all the support, of course, through Twitter. If you have anything to add to the things we discussed, we're always happy to hear about your opinions, your views. So sure to tweet us at Golbazan. But once again, thank you, and until the next episode, goodbye.
That concludes our episode. We want to thank again Babak Godri, Sinaisan Pejman Parsanari Alverdi. Fantastic work they're doing for Gold Bazan, for the Iranian community, and just the footballing community as a whole. We're doing our best to fix the sound quality, guys. As you guys can imagine, we're all scattered across the globe. We're not in the studio talking about, Iranian national team or just Asian football in general. So we're trying our best. But once again, we appreciate the support. Please subscribe to us on iTunes. Check out our website, goldbazanpodcast.com. Twitter is at goldbazan. Facebook at goldbazan. If there's any questions or you guys might have, our emails are up on the website, and our general email is mail@goldbazanpodcast.com. Cheers, guys. Thank you.